All right. Welcome back to the Forest Brothers podcast. It's your boy Munza Chris Don back in the cut, joined by my two brothers, Nkosi and Samson. What is goody, brothers? And listener, thank you for joining us today. We'll be talking mainly about the Ballon d'Or just happened today, and we'll also be talking about some of the hot button issues that took place in the Premier League this past weekend. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Do subscribe, comment, like, share, all that fun stuff. But anyway, Ballon d'Or. So in case you don't know, our boy Ousmane Dembele was the winner, was ranked number one and won the Ballon d'Or. Congrats to the boy. But it's very interesting. Yamal came second, but he was being touted a lot today on social media as the winner. I didn't see that much Dembele shouts. Even though I do remember before, in the last season when PSG won, that was the whole case that, if PSG win this thing, it's gonna go to Dembele. So I was expecting him to win it still. So that's why I was a little surprised to see all the Yamal shouts. But I believe that the right man won. So let me just start with the top five and then ask you guys what your thoughts are on how the top five is, and then we'll go down the list and kind of see some of these some funny characters who got ranked that we're a little surprised by, and even talking about the validity of the Ballon d'Or. Like, what does it serve as we keep going? Because I was talking to one of my homies, and what he was mentioning how Messi and Ronaldo essentially ruined the Ballon d'Or, because what's the reasoning that someone gets chosen, a player gets chosen? Is it the amount of goals and assists they have? Is it the trophies? Or is it just how they played? Because with Yamal, for instance, he only had 9 goals, 4 assists last season. But people were like, oh, clearly he was like the best player in the world, in the past season, just because of what he was doing off the ball and on the ball, and, giving Rafinha, then Rafinha would assist or whatever he was doing. And people just said, eye test, Yamal was the man, deserved the door. And, some people just can't get behind that. Anyway, so top 5 was Dembele, second was Yamal, third was Vitinha, fourth was Mo Salah, and fifth was Rafinha. Let me start with you, Samson. What were your thoughts today with this Ballon d'Or winner and the ranking of the top 5?
Yeah, I think the right man won. I often think if you're the best player, the most impactful player on the team that wins, these days it's the Champions League. If it isn't a World Cup year or Euro year, it's typically the Champions League that decides it. So if you win that tournament and you're the key player for your team, I think you deserve the Ballon d'Or. And this man definitely deserved the Ballon d'Or because he was the key player playing that false nine role. Most things ran through him. When PSG played well, typically it's because Dembele had played well. So yeah, I thought he deserved it. The rest of the top 5, I'm a little surprised by, just because I thought the second best player last season was Rafinha. Um, I don't know, like, even eye tests, I thought Rafinha was better than Yamal. I thought Yamal was good, but he wasn't good the whole season. Rafinha was good the whole season, literally from September to until May. Rafinha was the man for Barcelona. So I thought he was kind of robbed. I thought he should have been there in second. I understand Mo Salah being in there because he was having a record-breaking season until about March. Then he kind of tailed off. And Vitinha, okay, you know, I sure, he won. He was on the winning team, so I get it. And yeah, I have no problems with I mean, Hakimi is that sex. So yeah, those guys I have no issues with. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that Rafinha ends up fifth. And you know, given that he had the season he did, I just thought that was a bit funny.
How would you have ranked the top 5? Like, if it were up to you, like, how would you have rearranged the top 5?
Usman first, Rafinha second, Mo Salah third, Yamal fourth, and then Vitinha. And my rationale is, Mo Salah, Premier League champion, and he carried his team throughout the season. So I think third is reasonable. Rafinha carried his team to a league title, almost carried them, all the way to the Champions League final, but came short. So yeah, that's also valid. Vitinha would come in fourth just because, or fifth rather, because he's on the winning team. And I'd put Yamal fourth because, this whole eye test thing, I understand it, like, but I just don't think it has that much value as much as people, wanted to, to think. Like, yes, I remember the Inter games. I remember both legs. He was incredible. He had those men on skates. I was there. I saw it. But, you know, I don't think it's right to reduce the Ballon d'Or to two games where someone looked unplayable. Because I feel like a lot of players in the past have looked unplayable on certain nights. I remember Hazard had he'd have like 10 games a season where he was unplayable. He never won a Champions League. He won one Premier League. No one ever did this for Eden Hazard, and
He won two Premier Leagues, so let's
there we go, two Premier Leagues, but no one ever gave Eden Hazard this type of treatment. You had Alexis Sanchez, won games by himself so many times. No one gave him this treatment. Gareth Bale, games by himself. No one gave him this treatment. So I just think it's, what are we doing? Sure, you like the way the guy dribbles, but that shouldn't merit a Ballon d'Or, in my opinion. It's it's what those performances actually lead to. So that's my
Yeah.
thinking.
Mangoro, though, actually, some people are saying, maybe it's Yamal's off the pitch behavior that made him lose the Ballon d'Or today. He had the whole controversy with some entertainers, I'll call them that, at a birthday party. I know that caused a little ruckus on social media, and him dating a woman, what, 10 years his senior, I think. So there are also just some off the pitch behavioral things, and possibly his age. Maybe his age also played a factor because they're like, okay, if we give this kid a Ballon d'Or at 17, yeah, what's that gonna mean? What's that gonna look like? I don't know if that also played a part, but I don't know, Mangoro, if you think those things are the only reason why he didn't get to win the Ballon d'Or, or if you also agree with Samson's sentiments.
I would say definitely the age aspect is also a critical factor. I think they did take that into consideration. The When you look at him at 17, like if at 17 years old you're dominating world football and you're winning the Ballon d'Or, at 2021, what is going to be motivating you? Like, let's just think about that for a second. Secondly, I do see why he wouldn't win it. Like the stats you outlined at the beginning, what, 9-4? Like, that's not Ballon d'Or material. I don't think that's all competitions, but it just can't be. It just can't be. So, in my opinion, I think the right person won. He did do, like, I think they do lean into trophies quite a lot when it comes to these awards. Like we've seen it in the past where awards have been decided by the trophies you've won and the kind of trophies that you've particularly won. So when I look at the top five, I'd say the top five I have no problem. Actually, not that I have a problem with it. I think it's fine. Firstly, in 3 to 4 years, or maybe next year, we've probably even forgotten who was in the top five. Like, we only remember the winner or number two. We won't remember three, four, and five, or six. I think my boy number 87 from PSG was done dirty. I think he was supposed to be in the top five. Joao Neves, I think that was quite unfair to him. I think he truly deserves to be up there, minimum top five. For me personally, this is my personal take. But all in all, like I have no qualms with the list. I think, but with Rafinha, just want to touch on Rafinha real quick. I think my issue with Rafinha is that as much as he did have like a scorching season last season, um, he did also miss quite a number of chances, like especially in the big games in the league. like some of the setups that he was getting, like the tap ins that he would miss, like it would be unbearable. But all in all, he did have a good season. The other players I have no issues with. Salah did win the Premier League. Um, no issues with Lamine. I think maybe if they made it to the final and then they lost to PSG, the argument would have been much stronger because I think they do take into. I think the journalists that vote on this also do take into consideration like how you carried your team to a final, even though you may have lost it, but the fact that you carried your team there. They do look at that, but the Ballon d'Or as it is now, with how the award has been split between the Ballon d'Or and that other one called the Best, and then there's that other, I think UEFA trophy as well. Like it's kind of lost that razzmatazz that it had a few years ago. Right now, I think it's just a regular trophy in my opinion, and we kind of fuss about it. Like if you as football lovers, like if they even knew that the Ballon d'Or was happening today, none of them would have told you that. Whereas before, people used to tune in and be like, "The Ballon d'Or is happening today. We're going to be watching it." So now I think it's just this thing that I think it's mainly for the players, for us, the fans, and people who watch the sports. I don't really truly care about it as much anymore. That's just my take.
I remember the Ballon d'Or used to happen in Feb. Am I tripping? This seems like an early Ballon d'Or. I could be tripping, but I used to think that was like later in the year. But
Yeah, I
like
think
in September, has it always been in September?
no, I mean I think it
No.
was December, even December or Jan. Yeah, because it used to take into account the calendar year. And of course within that calendar year it would include the trophies from the previous season, but also the performances from that season. But then they changed it, I think, in 2021 to include, they moved it up, and also mainly focusing on the events of the previous season. So whatever was voted on, I think that's kind of the point of why it's so early. Like they're not considering anything that happened this season. It's just last season stuff.
Hmm. I guess that makes sense to me. So the one thing that I was a little confused by is Yamal did win Golden Boy, right? And didn't he win it already? I thought you could only win Golden Boy once, unless if I'm mistaken.
Mm, I don't know.
There isn't a set criteria on it, from what I understand. And also that's the thing with I think it's also a rules thing because before the Ballon d'Or was like a French organization set up by them. Now I'm not entirely sure who's truly hosting it. I think it's now lost that idea of it being the Ballon d'Or and the Golden Boy, because before we used to kind of assume that Golden Boy would then one day become like the next Ballon d'Or winner, whereas now it's sort of like I'd say it's been diluted, and being diluted, that means you can win the Golden Boy like 100 times. But also, if he, based on what you're saying, if he won the Golden Boy and then he won the Ballon d'Or, what does that say about the state of the sport?
But I mean, see, and this is the thing about it, and I think him winning the Golden Boy, I think that's the right decision because, okay, fine. I thought there was a rule that you can't win it twice, but if he wins it again, it is what it is. But I don't think, I would have even been more comfortable with Mo Salah winning the Ballon d'Or before I give it to Yamal because I just, you know, we talk about, you know, because you mentioned, the journalists will talk about who carries their team to titles. And again, I like Yamal. Yamal's a great player. Like he's amazing for Barcelona, but I wouldn't say he carried them to their league title or carried them through each Champions League round. Like I think he carried them in some games, but I don't think he was that like the version you saw, the highlights that you see of him. If he did that every game, he would have put up messy numbers. Like that, because that's what that play produces every game. So and I'm just like, I mean, I grew up watching Messi and Ronaldo, so I also have that in my mind that like if you are being hailed as this guy, and those are the stats you produce, number one, and you end up being, the number two or the number three on a team that wins the league, then I just don't think you're a Ballon d'Or winner. You're the best young player because, still 17, so I think you should win that. But yeah, I just like the Ballon d'Or thing, man. I don't understand that. I just don't.
Maybe they're trying to restructure themselves after, like, again, Messi and Ronaldo carried the Ballon d'Or for years, right? And they kind of, what can I say, got us used, spoiled us, really, with the amount of goals and assists that they'll score each and every season. It was that competition between them, right? Like, who's gonna score and assist more, who's gonna win more trophies, and that's kind of the rivalry that we had for a long, long time. And we just thought, hey, you know what? And at that point as well, for any other player to win the Ballon d'Or, you also had to perform, overperform. So now I think we're at a stage where I don't know if it's necessarily like a drop in talent or if the game has gotten harder or, maybe now we can start appreciating Messi and Ronaldo even more because those guys were freaks of nature, essentially. Even though technically, we do have people like Harry Kane who are still putting up numbers in Germany. Harry Kane, he scored a lot of goals. Haaland himself as well, Salah and all that stuff. So I don't know, like if right now, like they're trying to use other metrics to now measure, like, okay, maybe that's when the eye test thing is coming out as compared to the stats.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because I think there must have been a shift between stats and eye test somewhere along the line because year after year you're seeing it's like stats are less valued. And I think this whole thing of stats not being valued as much, it did start at the end of the Ronaldo Messi era because you had voters still wanting to give the award to the Messi or Ronaldo, right? Um, so I think it was 2020 or 2021 where Lewandowski should have won it because he had like just an insane amount of goals and he won the Champions League, and they still gave it to Messi. You know, like I think that that kind of started a chain reaction because you have Victor Gyökeres who was 15th. He's Europe's top goal scorer. He won the award for Europe's top goal scorer. I know he did it in Portugal, but in any other year before, 2020, if you were the top goal scorer of Europe, you would at least make the top 10. Like you're the top goal scorer of Europe, and or even the Yashin Trophy that Donnarumma won, the best goalkeeper. He's the world's best goalkeeper, but he's below Cole Palmer. So it's like, what's going on? Like there used to be meaning behind the best in something, whereas now the best goal scorer is the 15th best player in the world. And people can't tell you, like, why is the guy who scored 9 goals better than him? You know, they'll tell you eye test. So but that's not how things used to be. It's just not. So, I find that interesting.
And I think the fall from grace really came with that Haaland Messi situation where Haaland definitely should have won it. He won everything, right? He broke all the Premier League record, like for goals. He won Premier League. Did he win Premier League? Yeah, I think he won. He won the Prem and the Champ.
That was a trouble.
Treble. On a
The
treble.
treble, and you've broke, and like they still gave it to Messi because he got a World Cup. I think to me that was like, okay, clearly you've lost the plot, clearly. And then when we see like the last one where they say Rodri, when Rodri robbed Vinny stats were better than Rodri's, but of course they gave it to Rodri because they say, he carried Man City to the titles that they won.
And Vinny had the UCL and the league. It still wasn't enough.
Yeah. So I don't know. It feels a little haywire to me. I don't know what's happening. That's what I'm saying. For me, the Ballon d'Or competition, like the Ballon d'Or, whatever it is it's meaningless now. It's useless. Like I don't know what. Even as a player, I'll be confused because now I'm like, okay, what do I have to do to win this thing? Because I mean, Mangori was saying like, okay, if they gave it to Amal at 17, what other things I have to play for? I'm sure any other player's ambition is, I want to win. I want to have the record of the most Ballon d'Ors. If I start at 17 and I win a Ballon d'Or every year or every 2 years, by the time I retire at 35, 36, 37, I've racked up, at least 8 Ballon d'Ors. Maybe that's you only have more Ballon d'Ors than Messi or Ronaldo. Maybe that's like the benchmark. So I'd assume that's maybe what would motivate some players. But now, given that things are changing, I don't know how a player moves. Like, do they feel better? Like, oh, maybe it's more equitable now. Like, okay, if I just play well, I have a chance. Eye test. PR is on my side. Maybe we see a Jude Bellingham win a Ballon d'Or next season, just off of aura alone. Who knows? I don't know now, or maybe players feel like, damn, what more can I do? Because if you're Samson, as you just said, if you're Gyökeres and you're the top goal scorer in Europe and you're barely touching, you're 15th. It's not even like he was even 11th. He's 15th. He's got Desiree Doué, who's ahead of him. Doué didn't do as much as Gyökeres. Like, what's the rationale for having
basically half the season, that guy?
Yeah, exactly, right? So then you start to wonder as a player, like, damn, Harry Kane, top goal scorer in Germany. Harry Kane was voted, he was what, 23rd?
No,
Let me see.
13th.
Oh, he's 13th. He's 13th. Yeah. You see? I don't know. Mangoro, I don't know how do you think this will affect things moving forward, especially like from a player perspective?
I think it won't change much for players. I think they'll still be motivated to win individual trophies for themselves. Firstly, like team trophies. And then if they get put in these conversations, then great. I think for them, because for them, they're mainly worried about like their team bonuses, club bonuses, contracts, their team performance. This individual stuff now, I think they also know that it's pretty much just become a popularity contest and who's the media darling that particular year that's going to win it. Like it's not like I think as we mentioned at the beginning, like what Messi and Ronaldo did is like it sort of ruined these awards because now like at that point like we were talking about elite footballers. Not that I'm not saying these ones are not elite, but the levels. Like when we think about the year when Ribery, I think, was nominated. There was a year Xavi and Iniesta were also nominated against both of them, and they never won it. So you can tell, and I think that at that point they'd won like the World Cup, the Champions League, trebles, but then they didn't win it. So you could now tell that the level was just so high that now I think football in itself has sort of evolved, and we, I think we don't have those generational talents like them. Now we're sort of like just picking the best amongst these individuals that we have. And it just so happens that one of them is a 17-year-old, one of them is someone who's kind of experienced. And it was very interesting. I was looking at the stats when they're talking about Dembele. First nomination, and he won. And then that's commendable. First nomination, and he won. So shout out to him, like from where he's been in his career, from how it didn't go so well at Barca to actually go to PSG and win it. Like that's truly an incredible feat. But the award in itself, to get back to your question, Motza, is uh it's an award, yes, but the players fine, they think about it, but they've also seen the I wouldn't say injustices that have happened in the past, but like they also see like the stuff that has happened. It's I think for them most of the time, like it's like if I get nominated, great, I'll go. If I don't, it is what it is. I don't think they're losing sleep overnight over it. Maybe back in the day they would, when people would be like, okay, yeah, someone here was robbed. But whereas now it's sort of like it's a, it's a it's a numbers game. It's how many of the journalists are on your side, how many journalists cover your games, and things like that. So it's really not, as I mentioned in the previous episode, at that level where we once thought it was. Now it's just I wouldn't say who you know, but like which journalist knows you basically.
Which would explain maybe a very egregious decision or placement that everyone was kind of surprised by in the Ballon d'Or right now, because the boy Cole Palmer was ranked 8th. Samson really kind of alluded to this, because if you go from 6 to 10, Hakimi was 6th, Mbappe was 7th, Cole Palmer was 8th, 9th was Donnarumma, and 10th was Nuno Mendes, right? Pedri was ranked 11th, by the way, which I find crazy. The thing is, I don't even watch Barcelona games like that, but I do know Pedri crazy. You know, when I watched Pedri, like the games that I do watch, Pedri be cooking. He be cooking. So a lot of people are saying Pedri should have been ranked where Cole Palmer is. What made Cole Palmer be the 8th best player in the world? Literally, he's been blanking since January. Like, he scored what, 2 goals since Jan? You know, like, so what did he carry? What did he do for Chelsea? Like, the only hot moments that we can say, okay, Cole Palmer did this was like when he scored the 4 goals in a half. He broke the record for like most number of goals in a half scored. I know there was that. I know some people saying, oh, you know, he carried Chelsea to the CWC when he scored his 2 goals for the Club World Cup. Maybe that influenced the decision somewhat, because Chelsea didn't win a single thing trophy wise. You know,
I mean, they won the Conference League.
Conference. I mean, of course, yeah. Conference League as well, and I guess Club World Cup. I don't know. You know, Mangor, as a Chelsea fan, do you think the ranking is a proper reflection of Cole Palmer, or is something amiss here?
I would say from an objective point of view, I don't really care that much, like, in all honesty. Like, whether he's there, if he was there, as I mentioned earlier, at 8th or 25th, like, we won't remember this in 6 months. No one really cares. There isn't like a huge injustice where we're like, okay, yeah, something he has amiss. Like, he was 8th. Why are we crying about 8th? Like, I think there are far more important things in football we should be worrying about rather than the fact that he's 8th. If he won it, then I'd be like, okay, fine, there's a problem. There's definitely a problem. Something is not right. But the fact that he's 8th, I'm like, it's not that. Well, I think we're making a big deal of something that really shouldn't be like a big deal. Fine, he played, I'd say, like half a season. Until like the first half of the season, he got his GNA up. Then second half of the season, he tailored off, and then he came back end of like the Conference League, winning the Conference League, turning around that final, and then winning the Club World Cup, 2 trophies. I think they do take those into their account, like there are trophies at the end of the day, because the question we need to ask ourselves is if PSG had won the Club World Cup, wouldn't people be using the fact that as a point to even add to the narrative that Dembele was meant to win it, because they're like, he won the league, he won Champions League, and he won this Club World Cup, where by essence, all the best teams, Champions League winners, and the people that were being invited, I'm not gonna mention them, they won that particular tournament. So I'd say it's kind of like works both ways in essence. In one sense, we're looking at a player who finished in the top 4 of the Premier League and a player who won a league. It really doesn't. I don't even think like it bothers the players that much. Someone who finished 4th and 8th, like, you look at Salah, he won the league, he finishes 4th. Palmer, he won those trophies he won. Like, I don't think we should be paying much attention to like the rank. I don't even like the fact that they take out the top 30 rank. What does it change for us? Like, so what? Sergio Girassi was 20 something. But shout out to Scott McTominay, ex Manchester United. He made it there. No Manchester United player was there, but he was there. So I guess players that play at Manchester United should know that once you leave United, I guess there is Ballon d'Or potential once you leave. I saw Onana's got an assist, but I know I'm digressing, but like that's just something that I noticed when I look at this list. But yeah, at the end of the day, this top 30 really doesn't say much to me. Whether Cole Palmer was there or not, like, I'm not losing sleep over it. He's not losing sleep over it. It is what it is.
I don't know, Magor. I feel like you're dumping it a little bit. And I'll come to you, Samson. But for me, it's like, as a player, obviously you want to be on the list and you want to be ranked highly on the list because it affects your valuation. If you're in the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or, obviously, like, clubs will look at you different like that. You can use that as a bargaining chip if you want to be bought by another player, or if you want to, like, maybe do contract negotiations, or if certain conversations around like your legacy or whatever the case is, being nominated, highly ranked, it matters. Let's not act as if it actually doesn't impact anything. I feel like it actually does. Like it does come with something.
I would say it, Muta, honestly, it just, like I'm telling you, it doesn't. Like you're talking about being sold. Who is Cole Palmer being sold to? Who is
I'm just
Mo
saying,
Salah
like,
being
not
sold
right
to?
now, but it just still just cements you as a legitimate, like it adds to your roster, it adds to your resume as
Muta, I'll give you context. In 2023, we didn't know Cole Palmer. He was just this guy where people were like, wait, why is Chelsea signing this unknown guy from Man City's bench for 40 million? That's just facts. Like no one knew this. They're like, who is this now? Why are we spending so much money on a City bench warmer? That was the narrative out there. They were like, we should have spent that money signing or Lisa or someone else. And then look at what he's turned into. So the fact that like I think there's just some things that we should be paying attention to, and paying attention to the fact that like Palmer's there and someone else is in 15th or 18th or 20th. Like the players in themselves, I'm pretty sure even when they saw this on the FYP or like their timeline, they just scrolled past it. They were like, oh, I was 8th or 9th or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, interesting. Like they didn't think much of it. Maybe it'll motivate them to work even harder next year to move up, or for players who weren't on the list to get onto the list. So it's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of difficult to say or tell. Like, in my opinion, I don't think the players really do care about it, because it's not like anyone has a Ballon d'Or clause in their contract or a top 5 Ballon d'Or nominee in their contract. Like, these are things that are not factored in and players are signing contracts.
I don't know. Samson, what do you think about odds? What Mongoro is saying and this Cole Palmer chatter?
I mean, I think it matters, and I think what the Ballon d'Or, in my opinion, what it should be is sort of an advertisement for the game, right? Award shows are typically things that are consumed by more than just the fans of that sport. So, for example, in the United States, you have the ESPYs, which is ESPN's big showcase night where they have awards for all sorts of sports. More people who don't watch, say, basketball are gonna watch the ESPYs than actual basketball games. And I think the same is for the same kind of happens like for the Ballon d'Or, because there's performances, there's all these presenters that are not of football, but they're kind of adjacent to football, and people will tune in just because it's like a showcase event. And I feel like if you're tuning into this showcase event and you want to learn about the 30 best players in the world, this isn't a very accurate list, I feel. It's kind of accurate in the top 5, but beyond that, I feel like it's not really representative of who played well last season. And fine, you'll say, it doesn't really matter that much that Cole Palmer was 8th. I say it does because, not only was Cole Palmer 8th, Scott McTominay was 60 or maybe 18th.
18th.
Scott McTominay was the best player in Italy. Cole Palmer finished 4th, had 2 goal contributions in 5 months, and then scored 2 goals in the Club World Cup. That was his contribution in 2025. Compared to a guy who won his team a league title and was the league's best player. He was 17th, 18th. I just think that's a disgrace. And also the guy you mentioned, João Neves, 19th, won a treble, whereas Cole Palmer's 8th. I just think, what are we doing? You're not representing the game well. This is not a good advertisement for the game. You're misleading people. You're putting out the wrong idea out there. And I feel like it's just misrepresenting the game. And I think it's a very inaccurate list in that sense. And it's doing a disservice to the players who performed so well last season.
But my other thing that I do like just generally have a qualm with this entire list. I'm reading this list, and I'm like, this list is so weighted to attackers. Like look at the number of attackers on this list versus other positions on the field. There's literally one goalkeeper and a few defenders, a few midfielders. But the number of attackers and wingers, like, where's the inclusivity in this list? When you talk about the very best. So is the saying that um, attackers win you games and defenses win you titles false? Because that's what this list is telling me. It's like we care more about the attackers and what they do rather than the people that actually defend and win you the titles. They won't win you the game, but they could win you a title if they're consistent. So all in all, just this whole Ballon d'Or thing, um, not my cup of tea. I don't know if the listeners have gotten that energy from me at this point.
They even left out some refs here. Some refs put some Premier League winning performances. You know, they should also be included. Like, where's the inclusivity, man? You know, Liverpool wouldn't be where they are today with some brothers.
David Coach,
put
man.
them in there. Stick them in. The 12th man was.
David Coach, man.
Hey,
Man.
come on, he deserved a shout. Come on.
Man.
At least 15th, at least 18th, even 30th. Put David Cooch at 30th. I wouldn't have better than I. I'm like, you know what? Good performance, sir. You. there should be that included. But you know what? Like as you're saying, because if I look at some of these names, you know, Erling Haaland was 26th, Vinicius was 16th. Scott, as you said, best player in Europe was 18th. Again, ex-Man United player. I don't know what this means for these other guys to see that. I'm happy for Scott, though. I'm really happy for him because, hey, if you're in the mud, you just need to change your... I mean, it's also indicative, right, with Dembele. Like you said, he was having a terrible time at Barcelona. He went PSG, and he's now a Ballon d'Or winner. So, hey, you know what? I guess maybe those will send a message to players out there. If you're having a terrible time at a club, that doesn't have to be your story forever. Change clubs, change countries, and you could see the very best. Bruno, leave United, go to Saudi, and you could maybe, you know, I don't know, something could happen for you. You know, who knows? So, yeah. It's also always fascinating that no MLS player ever makes this list. So, which I don't know if they get counted in this one.
No one outside of the top 5 leagues or even the top 6 leagues makes this list ever. So
yeah.
I think our Forest brothers on the African continent would have a much better shout on being on this list versus brothers in the MLS.
Actually,
no hate,
I think you're right.
Just facts, because
no chance.
some of the brothers do have African descent, like they've been nominated before. Your Manes, Salah is from the continent. It's fourth. So there's a few of our brothers here, whereas when you look at MLS, as much as they have good, talented soccer players, like I don't think they would make the cuts. Like much as we like the MLS here, I don't think they have that gravitas to make it to this particular list. And also their footballing calendar is different from the European calendar. That could also affect their participation in a list of this sort.
No, I mean, because like if we're considering Cole Palmer for Club World Cup, we have MLS teams that play Club World Cup. So if an MLS team had won Club World Cup and there was a standout player who carried their team to all these things, wouldn't that be reason to include them?
If Messi had won Club World Cup, he'd have been 5th. I'm telling you that right now, or even 3rd. I'll tell you that for free.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like there's now, since all these cross whatevers, right? I'd imagine that maybe I don't know why MLS isn't. Not that there's any good MLS players like that, anyways. That it was just an interesting point for me. But anyway, that was the Ballon d'Or, and I haven't really seen that much uproar online. I think this was a pretty standard decision. I think everyone's happy for Dembele. You know, a lot of the people were actually cheering when I was watching the ceremony. I haven't seen that in a long time, where people actually cheer for a guy. You know, he seems like he deserved it, and players seem to be happy with the decision too. Or maybe it's just old jealousy because they didn't want to see a 17-year-old kid win it. Who knows? exactly what people's motivations were for cheering
People
for
are
the boy.
saying Rafinha was cheering a little too hard there.
Yeah, I'm sure he has his own motivations. But anyways, okay, that we can close out Ballon d'Or. I think that was an interesting discussion. But just to touch on some of the things that happened in the Premier League this past weekend, we have to give some light to that. Because Liverpool did play Everton. We had a Merseyside derby, and I know also at Arsenal, Man City. So I know those two games are pretty big. But just touching on the Liverpool game, there's a lot of controversy as well when it comes to, what, Magoro, I know you studied the game. Is there a rule that just got implemented that a player can take a free kick too quickly, and if that does happen, they should get booked, get a yellow card for that transgression? Sir, you played that free kick quicker than I wanted you to, so I'm a bookie for that. I thought that's something that would not happen in world football at any point in time. But the Premier League keeps showing us new highs and new lows that it was possible. What do you think about this, Mangoro? Does it come off a little shady to you?
Uh, Mutsa, I mentioned this at the beginning of the season. I'll mention it again, and we're gonna mention it again in the future. Just generally the inconsistencies amongst some of the decisions we're seeing in the Premier League, and it's just going to continue. I don't know why we should be shocked anymore. I think we're at that point where in football, if referees are not making calamitous decisions, we shouldn't be having an uproar, because I think this is just the new normal with them, in the inconsistencies, like the yellow cards, the red cards, what's a foul, what's a free kick, what's onside, what's offside. These are things that we're now seeing every weekend. I'll give an example, like Casemiro's red card in the Chelsea game. Was that really a second? Is that the bar that we're setting now for someone to be shown a second yellow? And then you go to the Liverpool game, the things that were happening there, as you mentioned. It's how are we determining some of these things as things that are happening? We remember last season when Testic was red carded against Brighton. Uh, for those that don't know, Testic is Declan Rice, who plays for Arsenal. He got red carded for kicking the ball, for stopping the restart of play, second yellow card. And then we saw, I think, a few games later, something similar happened. I forgot the teams that were playing. No decision there. So there's just a lot of things that are happening in the Premier League where it's you just have, Mutta, honestly, and all the listeners out there, it's just something that the sad reality of it is just we just have to get used to it. They are not doing a good job, and there's nothing we can do about it at this point. That's just my take.
I mean, all we can do is call it out. We have to call it out because I feel like if we just say, you know what, this is just the way it is, this is a new status quo, and we just let it go, it emboldens them. These brothers have to be called out.
If you go, okay, let me ask you this. Samson can also shed some light here. You call them out, what's going to happen? They're going to release a statement, then what?
I don't know, man. I feel like the more call outs that happen,
Aston Villa are struggling right now because of a series of errors from that game against United where they lost last season, the last day, with those funny decisions that happened. They missed out on Champions League. They couldn't spend because of PSR over the summer. And now they're sitting, I think, second bottom with 2 points because the team is literally finished because there's nothing they can do. So if they were to come out and say, "Oh, we were robbed here, what not happened here," what's going to happen? A statement's going to happen, and then that's it. You've called it out. What does that really mean? Doesn't mean anything, because these people have decided that this is just something we have to get used to, the normalized mistakes, and saying that this is just how it is, and we're just gonna keep going forward with it, and hopefully Vieira will fix it for us. But we've seen that also has its inconsistencies.
Yeah, I mean, I think, um, I think as fans we do have some power because I know You know, some of the decisions last season, when there was enough of an uproar, um, some referees were being pulled from games. I remember there was a ref that was even sent to the championship, right, for like a few games. So like, it has a little bit of an impact, but ultimately, like, because he's right, like these guys, they're almost emboldened by each new decision. Because I remember last season when you had the MLS red card against Wolves, where he was sent off, and then they apologized and they overturned it. Um, they they kind of like, I remember, I forget the wording, but like it's almost like they refused to admit that they were wrong. There was almost like, they were like they kind of protected the referee who made the decision, like, oh, his interpretation was but like we acknowledge, that wasn't. And it's like they're always trying to justify what they do, and they're always on like they always protect their own. This is the PGMO. So it's like I feel there is a limit to what we can do as fans, but I think the true test is going to come when the clubs come together, because they do have their governors meetings, um, and I do wonder because you're talking about Aston Villa there being robbed of UCL. Um, we're going to talk a bit about Liverpool's late winners, and the added time that you know gets added onto Liverpool games. uh you have this curious case of just random bookings, random rules being put into place some weeks, being ignored other weeks. I think eventually you might have a governors meeting, where the Premier League teams come together and collectively fight back, but I think it takes enough clubs being hurt by the PGMO, because I think so far it's just a handful of clubs that have been impacted directly. Um, I don't think it's any more than 5 really over the course of a season. So until you get to a point where it's like 12, 15, I think this is going to keep happening, unfortunately.
I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of indirect effects that happen here, because if we actually look at the Everton game with Liverpool, right, where Drewsbury Hall was given a yellow card for taking a quick free kick, if something else happened in that game, and now he gets a red card as a second yellow, right, and is now missing the next game, I feel like these little things add up, right? Like we talk about Arsenal last season, right? Something where you talk about like all these little decisions where, okay, this player gets a red card against this team, and now it's a draw, where it could have been a win if that player was on the pitch. And then it adds up little by little, little by little. So long as these little by these little things, I don't know. I feel like we're setting a dangerous precedent here if we just say it is what it is. Because like you said, Kosi, there are actually like financial ramifications that take place for these clubs like Aston Villa, where like now, because you're not playing in Europe, your team is cooked. You guys have no gas in the tank. You can't really do much. And other teams as well end up getting relegated. Other teams end up losing their star players. Other teams, and also there's a lot more football now too, right? Like we've talked about how like there's so many international breaks as well. So there's also a lot more like liability when it comes to player injuries. So now it could be a situation where like, okay, got some players injured and some players who've just been booked. They're playing on thin ice because they can't afford to lose this guy. He's already on 8, 9 yellow cards. If he gets booked again, he's gonna miss a game, and your team is decimated at this point. What do you do? So I just think that there's a lot of like effects, and we can't. I don't know. We can't let it keep going on, man. Because why are you booking somebody for taking a quick free kick? I saw Donnarumma got I think got a yellow card for time wasting, and I thought that the new rule was that if that happens, it has to be a corner. I didn't say a corner get taken at that point. They just kept playing.
Yeah.
Oh no, no, no! That was a goal kick. That was a goal kick. So basically it's if the ball is in the keeper's hands and he holds it for more than 8 seconds, because that ball is in play, then it becomes a corner. But then there it
Mm.
was a goal kick. They wanted to play it short, like you've seen his teams play it short. So if he was wasting time there from that goal kick, then it can't be given as a corner in that situation.
Like the nuance of that rule to me doesn't make any sense. because ultimately the ball is in the keeper's possession, right? So I don't know, like what really is the difference there? You know what I mean? Like I guess there's a subtle difference. I do understand there's a subtle difference, but again, it's like, come on, you know what I mean? So these things that be happening, I don't know, man. I feel like we can't just let it go, man. Because again, Samson, as you said, right, we're seeing things where some teams are screwed more than others, right? Liverpool, for example, when they're winning the game at 3 added minutes, and in a Merseyside derby,
That was insane.
players are like, "Yo, we haven't seen this in years.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? What are we doing?" And it's like, I don't know, man. I just think like it sets even a much worse precedent for corruption too, because these players can do whatever they want at this point. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was, you know, aside from just like the added time, towards the end of that game, like I'm not sure if you guys were watching Liverpool's right back, Bradley. He was having a very interesting battle with Grealish, and he was roughing him up, man. Like he was all over the man.
7 falls.
No card. I was like, whoa. I mean, damn. Like he had his arms around him. He was pulling him down. He was kicking, like all the things you wanna talk about. He did it in that 5 minutes or 7 minutes. But he did it all, and I was just like, that's incredible. So I think, yeah, there's definitely like a bias for some teams, and I think I don't know. I don't know how you begin to address it, because obviously, if you're Everton, if you come out and say, "Hey, we were fouled too much, we got yellow cards that didn't make sense, this, and that," Liverpool will say, "Hey, that was a fair match," because they won, they better. It's just how it is. Whereas remember last season, away at Everton, Liverpool complained there was too much time added on. It got Onslaught sent off because they drew the game. So it's like teams are always going to complain based on the result. And if the refs favor you that day and it works out for you, there's not many teams that are going to accept it and be like, yeah, the refs were unfairly advantaged us. In fact, the only person in my time watching football who's ever done that is Arsene Wenger, who actually demanded that they replay the game because he thought the decisions were unfair in a previous game. That's the only guy I've ever seen do that. No one else does that. People just like, we got the points. What are you talking about? I remember Fabian Herzl of Brighton, Mangor mentioned the red card. He said he didn't see anything. He said Rice deserved it. The press conference. He didn't care, So it is what it is, it's tough.
Yeah, it is a tough one. It is a tough one. But I mean, I don't know, man. For me, Mangoro, anytime I see something egregious, I'm always gonna have to bring it up, man, because some of these things are just too shocking to just let go. It's just way too shocking because, hey, man, like, what are we watching? It ends up impacting your love of the sport, man, because these refs can just do anything. And, a lot of people are already giving up on the season. They're like, hey, listen, Liverpool clearly are your top dogs. You clearly have an agenda here. Why am I even going to waste my time watching this stuff? Why am I even going to waste my time? I might as well just pick another sport. Maybe just, yeah. And I'll see y'all at the start of next season. I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans say that online, I'm like, hey, you know what? There's no point. What are we doing here? Talking about Arsenal, actually, let's talk about that Man City game before we close up. For the first time, we saw Pep play haram football. It was actually very poetic that he did it against Arsenal. I actually found it very poetic because this is what Arsenal like to do, play haram football. And, haram football means haram football. And I don't know what got into Pep's head was like, you know what? I want to try something different today. I think maybe it was more like crisis management. I think he just wanted to beat Arsenal. And as soon as you score the goal, defend, and let's just get out of here with our 3 points and we'll be good. I think that was his game plan from the jump. And it almost worked. It really, really did almost work. If, that was his game plan. So I get it because, again, we've seen Arsenal struggle against low blocks a lot. So I can understand his rationale, but that's just not the Pep way. That's just not the Pep way. You take off Haaland and you leave Doku as your last line of attack. Come on, man. Come on, man. So I don't know. Samson, did you appreciate Pep's new tactics? His new way of football? Because listen, he put on a Mourinho masterclass. I'm pretty sure he called Mourinho the day before this game, and I was like, my guy, I need some secrets. What can I do? And he almost pulled it off.
That was disgusting. That was absolutely disgusting. That was diabolical. By the way, Arteta has never done what Pep did. I want to be clear on that. Pep had all 11 men. Like, let's make sure the listener, he had all 11 players available. I don't think he had, no one got injured. No one who played got injured. People were fit. They were ready. All 11 men. And he played 5-5-0.
I think they did say Haaland got a nick or something. That's why they took it. That's why it got off. Which I don't know if I believe.
That is nonsense. He's gonna be back. Even midweek in the EFL, you're gonna see him. Like, these are lies. Listen, this is Man City spin and pure. Those guys were fine. The whole team was fine. Pep just decided, you know what? I'm getting cooked. Like, yo, I'm getting finished, man. I need to do something. Because I think, here's the thing. Arsenal's approach, right? And I think this has been a huge discussion online. Arsenal's approach with the three sort of defensive midfielders, that they started with. This will be Mendy, Rice, Merino. That team is very good at pressing. Like, that is the best pressing team probably in the world, I'm going to say. Like, that team is going to shut you down. With Gyökeres up top, like, these guys are on you from minute one, like, relentless. So I think we had so much pressure on that Man City back line. They could not play out from the back. And after they scored the goal, even before they scored the goal, I think they just gave up on playing out from the back. They started going direct. And you saw in the possession stats, they were hovering around 35. That's not Pep, he's never done that in his life. So they couldn't play. Like, that's the main takeaway here. They couldn't play the way they wanted to play, so they resorted to that tactic. Fortunately for Man City, they scored a goal playing direct. The quick counter-attack. Saliba made a mistake. He did not close down Reinders, and Haaland got a free run at the goal. And at 1-0 up, I never thought I'd see the day. I never thought I'd see the day Pep would take off a winger and put on a centre-back. Imagine my shock when, not even maybe 10 minutes later, he takes off his striker and puts on another centre-back. I was like, nah, 4 centre-backs, Pep. 4! I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. 5-5-0 he played the last 30 minutes. 5-5-0. That was so disgusting. Please do not compare this to Arteta. This is not Arteta ball. Arteta does not play haram like that. When we did something similar last season, it's because we were down to 10 men. We literally had to. He didn't have to do this. He wanted to do it. That's the crazy thing. He wanted to do this. Luckily, we got that goal, because that would have been such a painful loss, man. That would have hurt me, in my soul for weeks. So yeah, good. Thank Lord for Martinelli there at the end.
Haram for haram. Mangoro, I wanna have your point, but I wanna ask you actually, Mangoro, and then maybe Samson will chime in after this, because like people also blaming Arteta for his game. They're saying he was giving Pep too much respect, right? Playing Marino, playing Zubimendi, playing Rice. The fact that he should have actually started. I don't remember if Eze started that game, but he should have started somebody else there. Even in Nwaneri, like have somebody in there, go at them. This is not the same City team that we've seen these past few seasons. They are weak. You can kill them. They're if Spurs could do it, you can too. So why are you playing it safe? That was a criticism for Arteta in this game, actually. And a lot of people actually expect Arsenal to lose, and which they almost did. But anyway, over to you, Mangoro.
I'd say he did it primarily because I think he watched City play United last week and destroy them, and maybe that did get into his mind. In essence, I think that sort of did affect him because when you look at the game as a whole, like he only started playing once he introduced the players in the second half, started taking the game more to City, whereas in the first half, it was a lot of passing between Zubimendi, Rice, and Merino. And Merino, as someone who played as a striker last season, like I'm very surprised that now all of a sudden when he's playing in midfield, so many sideways passes. Like, and that was the uproar from the Arsenal fans. And then when I think the substitutions were made, Trossard stayed. Like people were not happy with that. Like Arsenal fans online were critiquing that, and they were like, "Why is he staying? Like they're better players to be. Like he should be one of the people that goes out," which is fair argument. And Noni was having, I'd say, a decent game. Like he does have those decent games, but as people that have facts and stats, we will want to point out that it is now 006. We haven't forgotten. He must be well aware of that one, 006. And that's just how it is. Like the game in itself, I think Pep did so not Pep. Okay, on the going to the Pep side, I don't think Pep respected Arsenal because Pep came out and said, "Hey guys, I did this because we played on Thursday. Arsenal played on Tuesday." That was his main argument. He said, "My players are tired. These was they rested from Tuesday. Me, I was playing on Thursday night, like I'm in the Europa League. And these guys have been ready for this game since Tuesday. I played on Thursday. That's why I played that way on Sunday." And it does highlight some problems, maybe that he truly doesn't trust his team in essence right now, because we saw him against Spurs, like he didn't trust the team and the inconsistencies that they've had this season. I think he's trying to recheck the team and rebuild it in a new image. And he's still trying to figure out like where some of the pieces go, because I think they're struggling quite a lot. Like Foden, I think he looks better inside. But then you have the liability, in my opinion, which is Bernardo. Like till this day, like someone should tell me what he does on the soccer field, besides just pretend to go forward and then turn back and pass the ball sideways and talk to Pep at every water break. Like someone should tell me what that guy does. Maybe I'm not as educated as Pep and Bernardo, in terms of like football now. I'm saying like I am, but like they should shed some light to me. Like what does he do on the field? Does he provide GNA? Is he a defensive masterclass specialist? Does he cover ground like Rodri or Reinders or the other players? So all in all, I think Pep, he was a bit worried, especially in that second half. I think he was thinking about the fatigue on like, yeah, my players are tired. That's why I'm bringing your Stoneses, your Akis, all sorts of defenders that I can find. Like I'll empty out my bench and I'll play a back five. Because I was like, what? A back five? And then you play Doku, who has been in that game your best player. You put him as center forward against two of Arsenal's biggest players. You put your smallest player against their two biggest players, which to me I found to be very interesting, very, very strange. I think there was even a period when Bernardo was the center forward. And I was like, what is he doing? Like, this is just very, very strange. And I think maybe that's just his new reality. He now realizes that he doesn't have those dominating players anymore. Because even when he brought on that other brother, Nico, that brother is too soft in my opinion. I don't think he has like the grit as yet to be ready to be playing in the Premier League week in and week out. When you look at someone like Renders, like Tiani Renders, he has that. You can see him like he's ready to go. If it's going to war, he's ready for that. He can go to Anfield and play. But when you look at Nico Gonzalez, I think they'll run all over him at Anfield. Like I don't think he has that in him. So that's pretty much what I saw in that game. I think the draw was a fair reflection of the game. As much as Arsenal, I still have to critique them. I'm not a fan of the towels. That I found to be very cringe. The towels and the long throws that Arteta had deployed, absolutely horrible. That is the worst thing. Like Arsenal should stop that. Because my main issue is that with that whole thing is the throws, the long throws. So you waste probably like 5 seconds wiping the ball with the towel. And then you throw it and you only beat the first, you don't even beat the first man, like the player there. Like it's not working. Like, why do you keep on doing it? And you know what your specialty is. Like I think even the commentators mentioned it. It was the corners when Rice was taking them and when Saka was taking them. That was the ensuing. That was the only time when Donnarumma was actually worried and he had to do something. The throw-ins, Vardiol, Stones, Diaz, even Kuzanov was heading it out. Small lad, but he was heading it out. So I think they need to go relook at that and think about maybe I don't. Samson, maybe you can shed some light on this. I don't know if Arsenal spend some time on patterns of play on breaking down teams that defend low, or it's a corner, or it's a throw in. Because we remember against United, it was a corner. Here, I think that was one of the big avenues. Or maybe Jokeres hasn't like fit into the system, or maybe it was just the personnel. And I think that's where I understand Arsenal fans' frustration with putting three people to sit deep, like in the midfield, and no one's trying to do like that creative aspect. So, like for example, when you put on Eze, there were now more forward passes. The goal comes from Eze picking up the ball deep and lobbing it over the City players. Because before you were just playing it side to side in front of City, and then you'd put it out wide to Madueke, it'd run, you'd get a corner, and then you'd get excited. I don't know if that's a way to win the Premier League. I think there's certain things that they need to work on, especially on the patterns of play side, on like breaking down teams, making runs in behind. Because the moment you made a run in behind, you scored a goal. The other times when Jokeres made runs in behind, there were now these little 1-2s around the box where you look dangerous. But whereas before, when you're playing in front of City, they were very happy. They were just so happy. The corners, they were a bit wide, but I don't think they were as wide as they were meant to be. So that's primarily what I saw in this game. And Pep, I think he now respects Arteta. I think before he didn't. Now he does. And I think this game was a true reflection of that.
Yeah, I think if you didn't respect Arteta, I think that 5-1, yeah, eating five will make you respect anybody. I think there's no way you'll eat five and not respect your opponent. But yeah, I share your sentiments about the game, man. I think and I think this is the interesting thing because um I know you guys will look at that game, you look at the three DMs and you'll think, oh, Arteta was going cautious. Thing is, you need to understand, in Arteta's mind, he was going attacking. You know, he was going for domination because I think that's the big thing about Arteta. You know, he always wants to dominate. You know, whatever angle of domination you're thinking of, he wants to do it. So like defensively, he wants to dominate, and in the attacking sense, he wants to dominate. And having Merino there, you know, helps him dominate the game in a more complete way because he can press better and he can defend better, which means, you know, in all phases of play, he has more control of the ball. So in his mind, he was going very attacking. And if he put an Eze in there, a Noneri in there, he would have been less attacking because the press wouldn't have been as good. Man City would have had more of the ball in their defensive half and been able to build a little bit. They'd have had more possession. That's less domination. He didn't want that. And of course, you raise a great point because the issue of playing this way is chance creation, breaking teams down. Because when we play this way, the person who's the most advanced midfielder is Merino. He's the one who ends up behind the striker. And the issue of Merino in that situation is that Merino does not have the technical quality to receive the ball in that half space and do anything with it. When we saw him receive the ball close to his own goal, he was making very nice passes, very nice one-touch pass. Boom, he's gone. And I think that was the plan. You know, in Arteta's mind, Man City were gonna attack us more. They're gonna come onto us more. So these little 1-2s from deep and people run, they were gonna be on. And he thought, he's gonna have runners at the halfway line just feeding them all game. But that's not what happened. Man City sat deep. They were prepared for that. And Merino, when he's in those half spaces as a 10, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. You're going to give him the ball and he's going to give it back to you because he doesn't have the technical quality for the ball to just stick. He turns, he finds a pass, because I think people forget that to play in that position, being a 10 is such a rare thing, being a quality 10. You're talking about Cole Palmer. You're talking about Odegaard. You're talking about even Bruno's a bit of a bad 10 because his first touch can sometimes be bad. But like the technical quality to be in those tight, it's why you see Pep's best team when he dominated. You had all these small diminutive midfielders. He would play Bernardo. He's playing KDB. He's playing Gundogan. He's playing all these small guys. Why? Because when they're in these tight areas, it's just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. You can't do that with Mourinho. And at least Mikel realized that by halftime, but at that point, it's too late because you're chasing the game. And whenever you're chasing a game and teams are sitting back, it doesn't matter who you put in that 10 spot. There's just less space because, you're chasing it. Everyone's sitting back. They're not even trying to attack you. They have something to defend. And as good as a defense we have, there's no better defense than a defense that's defending something. That's just how it is. You're way better defending a 1-goal lead than you are defending 0-0. We were lucky that Martinelli equalized, but that's it. We were lucky. And I think if Arteta wants to keep going, playing this way, he has to realize that Merino in that role, yes, you will dominate. Domination, yeah. Possession, yeah. They can't press, they can't play, yes. Same thing with Liverpool. Liverpool couldn't play, yeah, great. Where are the goals, Amano? Where are the assists? Where are the shots? Donnarumma barely touched the ball. Gyökeres barely had a shot. Even Merino and Rice themselves didn't have shots. So what's the domination doing? And to your point about throw-ins, that pissed me off so much. Because, again, I love Arsene Wenger. I grew up on Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger would train throw-ins because he thought you have to train throw-ins because you technically have a man disadvantage because the person who's throwing the ball is outside. So he would work on those movements. What are you doing when this guy's throwing the ball? This is simple throw-ins, not people in the box, just regular throw-ins. He would train them. And Arsene Wenger would be screaming watching those throw-ins because it seemed like if they were even within 10 meters of the box, they're throwing it in. It did not matter. If you're just a little bit close throwing it in, a little over the halfway line throwing it in, it's like, come on, man. Come on. Number one, Donnarumma is literally as big as the goalpost. Like, you're not, even if you meet someone's head, no one is scoring a header from a throw-in and beating Donnarumma. Like, be serious. Like, no one's generating the head power to do that. And Man City are not a small team. The team they put out can defend set pieces, so they're not going to lose to a throw-in. I just thought it was a waste of time. You could have worked a better throw-in to get up, because you're up the pitch, they're in their box. You can do more just with a simple throw-in and getting the ball inside than throwing it in there like an idiot. Like that should really piss me off. I don't know why we're doing that, to be honest with you. Makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a tough life there in Arsenal, man, but we'll have to see. Mangor, I don't know if you had if that was a sufficient answer for you from the boy Samson, or if you had more to comment there before we close out.
No, that was a sufficient answer. I have no qualms with it. I think it's something that Jover needs to go look at, and once he takes a look at, like, I'm assuming you haven't scored a goal from this thing the whole
No,
season,
no.
and
We're starting
because
against
then
PSG, by the way.
oh, well, so against PSG is a bit different because PSG generally, like, coming into that game, everyone had been saying that they're scared of, like, throw-ins.
Yeah,
But
that
then at
they were
least,
small.
yeah, and they're really small, yeah. And then also the fact that, like, in that particular game, the second leg, it was working because PSG, what they didn't realize is the fact that they kept on heading it back to, like, the edge of the box, and Arsenal players were taking shots and didn't remember to make saves. We remember the Odegaard save, and there was also a Rice save. That made sense. But then I just want to paint a picture real quick on, like, how this generally just would not work. Like, if you're particularly Arsenal, because what is the angle of how we're thinking about, just to touch on Samson's point? Because now you're Declan Rice, who is technically meant to be in the box because you're one of the taller players, but you're the one taking this throw in. You throw it in, you're telling me that Gyökeres, with two defenders on his back, has to jump above two other players from the penalty box, like the penalty, like, spot, and head it into the goal and generate the power. I don't know what neck muscles he has because the ball's coming in, it's floating, it doesn't have power. He has to be the one that uses his neck muscles to generate that power. At least if you're crossing it in, I know Declan can cross a ball, then it makes more sense. Because I'm pretty sure Joker he probably was wondering, is like, guys, like, I didn't come here to be playing this way. Like, these throw-ins, like, at least give me the ball to feed. Then maybe I'll turn and run at someone and I'll get a penalty or shoot and they'll deflect and it'll go in. Because these throw-ins, my God, if this is your new tactic, I think you need to go relook at it. Because even the corners are not as potent as they once were. Like, I think people have now adjusted to them, whereas before, like, people were so scared of them. Now they've adjusted. They know how to deal with them. You're not as potent as you once were. I think it's. I think you have to, like. I don't know if this the next phase of the attacking revolution was, let's introduce throw-ins. If that's it, I'm happy for Arsenal. I will love it for them. They must continue doing it, because success is not guaranteed with this. We remember Stoke. Stoke, they did it for 2, 3 seasons, then they got relegated. So if Arsenal want to continue, they should continue doing that. I don't think any team that wins the Premier League, in my opinion, is relying on those kind of things. I don't think in any of United's dominant periods, Chelsea's dominant periods, Liverpool didn't have a dominant period, but at the times they've won the league. Same thing with City in the last however many years they've been winning the league. I don't remember them at a point in time doing any of this throw and stuff because when you think about it, remember that game where Aguero scored that crazy goal against QPR? I don't think I don't think there's a point in time when Mancini said to any of the guys, you know what? Let's just throw it in now. Like, this point that you're gonna throw it in and see what happens, they're gonna score. Like, it's just never worked. Like, if you don't play proper football, you create chances, like chance creation and the keeper's making saves on a regular. I don't see you winning a Premier League title. Liverpool, as much as we may say that uh, they get a lot of penalties, but they do create chances. We've seen them this season, especially now with the Ekitike. Like, they do create chances, these little 1-2s around the box and people making runs off the ball. They're scoring goals off of that. So I think that's something that Arteta needs to go take a look at. Hopefully he'll improve. For rival fans, hopefully he continues with the throw-ins. But for Arsenal fans, I know that they want more attacking play because when you tune in on a Saturday or Sunday, you want to see your team attacking the opposition, not waiting for a throw in or a corner to be like, yeah, now this is our chance.
And,
So,
just one more thing on the throw-ins. I think I wouldn't have such a problem with them but they're done so poorly. Like, if there was at least some strategy, like, oh, we're going to aim for this guy at the near post, he's going to flick it on, or, oh, we're just going to throw it as far as we can, flood the box, and then have shooters at the edge. Something, some semblance of a plan. There is no plan. I watched that game against Man City. There was zero plan for those throw-ins. It was literally whoever's close to the ball. Because sometimes Timber took it. When it was on the left, Rice took it. Actually, when it was on the left, Calafrio took it a few times. So it's like, whoever's near the ball, go get the ball. Whoever's near the box, get in the box. We're going to throw it. And it's like, my guy. No set piece works like that. None. Zero. You're not going to score like that. So I don't know what the hell we're doing with that. No idea.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I know the boy, Mr. Arteta, listens to our Forest Brothers podcast. So, Arteta, you're hearing about this? Stop it. Just stop it. Figure something else. Figure something else out. This is not it. This is not it. So, I hope you're paying attention. And listen, if you see Arsenal make a change, just know it's because they listen to this podcast. That's the main reason why. Cool. Actually, one last thing before we close out. And this doesn't have to necessarily be a long conversation, but we can't finish the podcast without talking about the Chelsea United game, given that, it was a very big game. And yes, Chelsea did beat United, but I know Mangoro, you're particularly happy with that game because now you won't have to have Sanchez in the middle of your sticks for the next few weeks, for the next few games. And maybe, just maybe, this means that, Maresca will see the light and say, you know what, this guy is actually a liability. Because I don't know why you'd think it's better for you to take a walk than get scored against in the first 6 minutes and then trust your team to be able to beat one of the worst teams in the Premier League right now. Like Chelsea could have still beaten United, like comfortably, had it not been for the fact that now you have a handicap. So I don't know, maybe that will speak volumes to Maresca. I don't know if you think that it would, Mangoro, but I'm sure at least not seeing Sanchez in between the sticks for the next 2 weeks makes your heart very happy.
A couple of things. Firstly, you mentioned Chelsea won. No, Chelsea lost that game.
I was trolling you.
Oh, okay. Interesting. The crazy part about Sanchez is that we're playing Lincoln this week, and that's the game he's going to miss. Then he'll be back the next game. So if you think that he's out for 3 games, no, he'll be back next week and only play.
Wait, doesn't a straight red mean you miss?
Straight red, I think, is 1 game.
Is it 1 game? I thought it was 2 yellows is 1 game.
I think it's the extra 2 games is for maybe violent conduct.
Yeah, there's thresholds. There's thresholds with what kind of red card you get. So if you take out a player's about to score, then it's just going to be a red card. It's 1 game. But then if it's like violent conduct or any funny things that you do that raise the bar, then yeah, it becomes 3 games. But I have to double check that. Maybe the listeners can let us know what the actual true definition is. We don't want to be giving false information here, but that's just generally how I understand it. We played United, who had their confidence in the Kada, when we went to Old Trafford, and we lost to them. That, to me, sort of didn't highlight what I was expecting. I was expecting to go there. I wasn't expecting to beat United 5-0 or any of those things. I was expecting that we go there, we beat them, maybe a comfortable score, 2-1 or 3-1, done. But Robert Sanchez will always remain a liability. I mentioned this at the beginning of the season, last season. And when he was doing heroics at the Club World Cup and doing all sorts of things, I told you guys not to be fooled by him, because a leopard never changes its spots. And he proved to us once again that he is just not to be trusted. I don't know why we keep on insisting on playing him. This is that whole Mignolet situation, the carrier situation at Liverpool. This is our replica of it. We're showcasing how terrible this is, because when you look at it, the moment Klopp got rid of Karius, Liverpool started challenging and going far in like the league, like when they brought in Allison, an actual goalkeeper. And I asked myself, because when he took down Mbeumo, I'm thinking of two things at that point. I'm thinking of the fact that we had Mike Maignan, France's number one goalkeeper, ready to join. He was ready to quit everything in Milan and join us. I'm thinking of that. He doesn't do whatever that guy whatever that guy did at that point. First, hesitate. Secondly, take the player out. The second thing I think of is it's 6 minutes. Let him score. If you've let him score, it's fine. We're gonna look at you in the defense, but then it's not gonna be a big deal. Now, when you take him out, you're getting a red card. You know that you're getting a red card. Like, there's even an image of Chaloba actually just looking at him. It's like, bruh. And this is the second time Chaloba's done that
Yeah,
face, just looking at him.
yeah, I was gonna
It's just
say.
like, bruh, like, what the hell are you doing? It's like we spend so much time defending here. And then you just decide that with this one moment where you just feel like it's good for you to do that. And I'm sorry. Like, I saw the apology that he put out on socials. I don't care about his apology. Like, to me, that is unacceptable. I think I've seen, well, not that I've seen enough. I saw enough last season to be convinced that with him, we're not going anywhere. And if these sporting directors, I hope they got a new 6-year contract. If they truly think that we need to continue with them, uh, these are the results. We're going to be losing to some of these teams. Fine, I'm not gonna derate him and say that every game has been bad. There's been games when he's been good. I do want to give him credit for that. But the critical points, this is where the big teams have keepers that decide the games. Because now you've decided the game in that 6 minutes. Now we're seeing Maresca take out every single wing and put so many defenders, which is also just another problem that I found to be very strange in that particular game.
Yeah,
Like, you haven't played a back three the whole season. Now all of a sudden you want to play a back three. And then when you need to come out and attack, when they've given you a lifeline, when at the end of the first half, you bring on Malo Gusto to play left back. You have Hato, who you signed. You decide that no, he's not going to come on. You have the pantomime villain who was itching to come on. You don't put him on. He would have, it would have been personal to him. You decide not to play him. So I think for us in that particular game, we deserve to lose. That's just facts. Like, I don't want to lie about it. Like, deserve to lose that game because Sanchez already decided the game for us. Even the brother they brought on, Jorgensen, the second goal, the ball is in the air. I think as a goalkeeper, these are things that you get taught at a very young age in terms of, like, if the ball's in the air in the 18 area as a goalkeeper, what are you doing? Like, attack the ball, punch it out, catch it, do whatever. Because you see what happens after that. They head it on. Casemiro's got a free header. Now we're in trouble. Now it's 2-0. We're down to 10 men at Old Trafford. These fellas that were confident was on the ground are now rocking us. Like, they having such a good time. They're attacking us. They're pressing us. They're doing everything that they haven't done all season. Now, the crazy part about what's going to make this United game look even worse when we look back is they will play their next game. I think it's against Brentford. They'll probably lose it. And then you ask yourself, what exactly were we doing? They will lose it because United this season, like the way they've looked, even the way they beat Burnley, just leaves a lot to be desired. And this is the team we lost to. We should be embarrassed. Like, we should be embarrassed that this happened. And if we're talking about being a little horse, these are things that cannot happen. I think we need to definitely address goalkeeper. I know we've spent a lot of money, but we still need a goalkeeper. and we need a center back. In my honest opinion, Trevor, Wesley, Tossin, and Colwell, love them all, but none of them are actually starting center backs. We need a world class center back. We need a world class keeper. If we can get those two, those are the two things we need. We had a problem with the striker. We addressed that with Delap and João Pedro, and you've seen the output. The center back, the goalkeepers, I don't think the ones we currently have are they're good enough as squad players, but to take us to the next level and beat teams like United in the state they're in, we need reinforcements there. But that's just my take.
It's just funny to me to hear a Chelsea fan talk about Chelsea still needs more players. Because if there's one team that is chock full of players and is out there always doing shady business, in my opinion, you guys are the last guys I want to hear from. We still have holes in our team. I don't want to hear it. I actually don't want to hear it from a Chelsea fan. Personally.
Actually, I think if they just signed Maignan, I think that would have solved everything, because the way Chelsea's team is built, it's built on potential, right? It's built on the idea that this is going to click in 2 years or in 3 years or whatever it is. If you have Maignan, he's like, what, 29? He could be there the next 6 years and still play. Like, that's fine, because keepers can play, for a long time. Fine, you have him, and the center backs you have, they will just build confidence, because you have some young center backs. You have Fofana, you have Colwell, you have Chalobah still, you have Hato, who's left back but also a center back. Like, there's so much talent in all these positions, young talent that you can just build on, but you have that donkey at the back that was holding everybody back. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing up there on the board.
And the worst part is when you look at Sanchez, then let's be honest, I'll ask both of you guys. Looking at Robert Sanchez today and 3 years from now, is he going to get better?
No.
This is ceiling, Baba.
No.
It's as good as it gets.
He peaked at Brighton. That was the guy you bought from Brighton. That's him. That was him. There was no potential. That was the guy.
So you see where our problem lies. We took Brighton's third choice keeper and made him a first choice. Those are the problems that we are currently facing, but it is what it is.
Listen, as a Spurs fan, I was very happy to watch that game because I still have beef with y'all. So for me, I was like, it's just a messenger that I didn't like. I didn't like that it was United who got the W. That's just the only painful part of it, you know. If it was, I'd have loved a draw. I'd have loved a draw. But the fact that United end up winning that game, get to see more of Amorim. I was sure that Casemiro was like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm gonna hopefully, it does something, because I don't think Casemiro rates Amorim anyways. But his gamble didn't work, unfortunately, because Chelsea was just not on it.
I think what happened with Casemiro, I think, sometimes you get caught in the heat of the moment. They're in the box, you're fighting for the ball, he scores, he's like, yeah. He's like, oh, fuck, I scored. He's like, I have to balance things out. I have to go balance things out.
He's like, this is not part of the script. I was not supposed to get the score. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because, again, I was expecting Chelsea to beat United comfortably, and I think you would have as well beat United comfortably. I'm not sure what happened with Cole Palmer. Like, they said that it was a bit of a niggle, but I don't know if that was just, maybe you can confirm, Angora. I don't know if he did catch an injury or like it's a recurring injury that
Cole
he picked up.
Palmer has been injured for the last couple of months. He's been playing with, as we heard after the game, that's why they took him off. He's been playing with pain injections. So there's currently discussions on if he needs to go to surgery now or later on, because the pain injections are just not gonna, you're not gonna help him throughout the season. So there's a decision that has to be made there.
Yeah. Okay. So, because he is number 8 in the world, so You guys need him. And you know what? With that, listener, I think that's enough. I think we've had you guys on long enough. You know, a lot of big topics to chat about. But thank you so much, listener. And do again, subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts, share, like with the other people out there. We appreciate you. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, gents. And thanks, listener.